that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that old shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go, we're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fence fam? So good to be back with you guys at yet another weekly live Ask the Experts live Q&A. How many times can we say live in the title? Hey, welcome back. So glad to be back with you guys. If you guys are watching this live, be sure to let us know you're here by typing in the comments section who you are and where you're from, so we can say hello. If you're listening to this on the podcast, what you're listening to is a replay of a live Q&A that I host every Saturday, well, most every Saturday, from 10 to 11 Central on both YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So just simply search Joe Everest on any one of those platforms, and you'll probably end up finding us. If you are listening on the podcast, if you happen to leave a review, that would be huge. It would help us for sure. Also, if you're watching this, if you share it out, like and comment, that helps as well too. So Caleb's running just a few minutes behind. If you guys read the title, you know who we're talking. Who we're going to talk to is Caleb over at Expert Stain and Seal. Which huge shout out to Caleb and Ashley and the whole crew for sponsoring our live. Means a lot. We really do appreciate it. Caleb's at a baseball game, so he'll be a few minutes behind. But once he gets here, we will certainly bring him up. Until then, let's say hello to you guys. Jeremy, what is up from Fort Worth? It's so good to see you guys again. Fence Vlogs, what's up, Jeff? Good to see you in here again. Good morning, Fence fam. Good morning to you as well. Like I said, as you guys are coming in, let us know you're here. We're going to kill a little bit of time until Caleb gets here. We start talking about staining and sealing. So what's going on in your guys' business? If you're anything like us in the last 2 or 3 weeks, the phones have really turned on. They slow down a little bit through the wintertime. And, when we're looking, at first it was a little bit, maybe not concerning, but something to keep an eye on, right? So call volume was down, sales volume was a little bit down. So we're looking at graphs. And I think one thing we realized was, as we're watching this, is that it's starting to look like 2018 and 19 before the pandemic. Now, I really don't think you can look at any of the graphs in 20, 21, and most of 22 as any sort of normal, right? I think we can all agree that business was just incredible. I mean, you fell into business. Most of us didn't really have to market or advertise that much because the phones just rang nonstop all on their own. Well, then along came this winter, and I'm sure this varies regionally, but in our region, things slowed down a little bit. So, last 3 weeks, phones have come back up. So we've gone from being a few weeks out to now we're about 4 or 5 weeks out, which is where we want to be. We want to be about 6 weeks out, which is kind of a conversation all of its own, right? So everyone has their own comfort level. However far you want to, there's guys that are booked months out. And if that's where your comfort level is, that's where you should be. But for us, our comfort level is about 6 weeks. So we vary pricing accordingly, right, to get above 4 weeks. And then when we get up to 6 weeks, we'll start varying pricing again to try to bring it down to 6 weeks. So we're in that sweet spot now. So if you guys are watching, let me know what your guys' business look like and where you're located. So I think when we're watching the Facebook groups, it seems like this is a regional thing because there's some people that just said, business never slowed down. Business has been booming all winter long. And that could be a regional thing. It could be a pricing thing. It could be the guys that are booked out 2 or 3 months, if they were usually booked 3 months, now they're booked 2 months, well, they're still booked 2 months out. So maybe it takes them a little bit longer to feel that maybe. But yeah, let us know what you guys are seeing in your market. What is up, Colby Bierman says, Team Purple in the house. 2023 is looking great for selling clients on wood maintenance. So this is something I'd like to talk to Caleb about because we keep building this and refining this. And in the beginning, we're just talking about maintaining a fence in general, right? Now, this year at the Staining University there in Nashville, there was the one here in Springfield, we started talking about maintenance contracts, and then Staining University in Nashville, we really talked quite a bit about maintenance contracts. I think, guys, when we're talking about value in business, recurring revenue is everything. I was talking to a friend the other day, not in the fencing industry, but in a construction-related trade, talking about buying someone else's business. And the problem with buying a business that doesn't have recurring revenue is, what are you purchasing? Well, the name, the phone number, but largely those two things aren't as important anymore. And when you can, through SEO and through Google Ads, you can generally get your phone to ring even if you're an unknown and don't have an established phone number. Besides that, you're really buying assets, trucks, trailers, equipment, maybe a little bit of inventory in this particular business. The problem is the gentleman that was selling it said, well, I think it's valued at $2 million because he did $2 million in business last year. Like, well, that's not really quite how you value the business, because if I paid you $2 million, you didn't profit $2 million last year. Right. So you made that, but then you paid a good amount of it out. So at least in the fencing industry, it seems like net profit, the averages are somewhere between 10 to 15%. 12% is kind of a sweet spot. So 12% on $2 million is not $2 million. Right. So they had to sit down and have a conversation about the business isn't valued at $2 million. Just you don't have that. You have trucks, but you have loans against the trucks. Equipment, but you took out loans for the equipment. You don't really have a lot of assets. He had somewhere around $100,000 in assets, and I think that was being generous. The conversation did not go well when the seller came in at $2 million and the buyer came in at $100,000, feeling like he was being generous. It obviously fell apart. But that's where recurring revenue comes in, because my buddy's point was, if I came into your business tomorrow, you probably have a book of business, right? You probably have some work sold, but generally that money, the work that is already sold, goes to the seller anyway. That was sold prior to the exchange, prior to the date of sale, so that money would go to the seller anyway. So for the buyer, what revenue flow is currently in place? As I step into this business, now there's going to be momentum, and that's where part of that $100,000 came in. But there's not recurring revenue. There's no contracts in place that say we're going to have this much money coming monthly, quarterly, annually, whatever. Recurring revenue is everything when you're valuing a business. So, and that's where these maintenance plans come in, right? So when we're talking about staining and sealing, we're generally talking about like an annual cleaning maintenance plan with restaining every X amount of years, 3 years or something like that, where you can get recurring revenue. You would say, hey, we've got 300 clients that pay an average of X amount annually for this cleaning. The cleaning cost is Y, so you take that out. You have this much profit annually in a recurring fashion. Now, you would have to agree on a percentage of drop-off. Year on year, you would probably lose this amount of business. People move away, or people just simply don't want the service anymore. But you can reasonably assume coming into this business, this is the recurring revenue that would be coming to you, the purchaser. Anyway, this is all where maintenance plans come in. And this is how we can increase value of our businesses. Fence companies, just by offering staining and sealing, and through staining and sealing, these maintenance programs, or staining contractors exclusively, maintenance plans would be everything in terms of recurring revenue. So I think this is an interesting subject. I think we should probably talk about it for a while today once Caleb gets on. Colby says, recurring revenue is a game changer for us that have to slow down for the winter regionally to keep the lights on. So this is a fair point too, in that the further north you get, the shorter your season gets. Just temperature restrictions, right? And weather in general. So yeah, recurring revenue is everything. When you look at like the pond and waterfall space, these guys really seem to have the maintenance plan figured out, right? So they really have figured out, so we're going to clean the pond. We're going to, I don't know what all is included in this, but I was in a coaching group that had a lot of these guys in it, thinking that it's a fencing related, like it's all like kind of landscape, outdoor space related. And it was good to us. But there's a lot of landscapers in there that had these annual maintenance plans. When would the maintenance plans go out? January 1. And you had to have them back by March 1 to take advantage of this year's pricing. After March 1, the price would go up X. The point being, the pond, the waterfall, the water feature folks in general had the same problem, right? They are weather restricted too. It just doesn't make sense to go service a pond when it's 20 degrees outside. So by having this start in January 1, they've got some recurring revenue showing up January through March. March kicks off their normal cleaning, pond opening, or waterfall opening season, that sort of thing. So Colby's point is absolutely valid that this would make a great way to make up a little bit of revenue in the time of year, the months of the year that typically aren't as busy for a fencing contractor or a staining contractor. Michael Greenfield, we know this guy. What's up, Mike? Good morning, Joe. What's your thoughts on 2023? Do you see a bit of a slowdown on the residential or commercial side? Also, please tell the Cardinals to get it in gear. Listen, the Cardinals are not taking my phone call. Well, that's a whole different discussion, but I don't know what's on their mind, how they decide who to send up and send down. They're not taking my calls, Michael. So anyway, what do you see in 2023? So I don't know, right? So I wish I had a crystal ball, and I wish usually by this time of the year, I can have a pretty good idea what we're going to do. I'll look at previous year's models on what we sold per quarter, where we're at this quarter compared to this quarter last year. Like I said, 20, 21, 22 are an anomaly. They just don't count, I don't think. So their numbers don't jive with anything. But then the next problem is, do you apply them to 2018 and 19? Well, they look similar as far as the graphs. As far as quarter 4 and quarter 1 were a bit slower. Quarter 2 has seen a nice increase. So maybe they look alike. But that's a pretty big maybe, because our company has changed since 2018 or 2019. Our marketing has changed, that sort of thing. So are we likely to see the same thing? Probably. But then we're in this weird economic time where the Fed really isn't sure what they're going to do with interest rates, which the question is like, what does the Fed's interest rates have to do with a fence company? Not directly, but indirectly. New home starts. Residential follows new home starts, at least our business, pretty closely. If you see new home starts are way up this quarter, next quarter, your residential business is probably going to be doing pretty good because it follows cyclically. And they absolutely throw these houses up. So in the next quarter or two that you're going to see an increase in business. Fed increasing the rates means they have less buyers typically. But I was listening to an NPR podcast yesterday that was talking about new home financing is up. So maybe buyers aren't worried about the interest rate. But all these things come into play, right? So if new home starts are down, then maybe we should read the tea leaves that the residential business isn't going to be as stellar as it was previously. But new homes are only a portion of what we do. Another portion, the larger portion, probably what we do is repairs, replacements, that sort of thing, removals and disposals, new fence going in. So that really doesn't have much at all to do with interest rates directly. I mean, they're not financing, for the most part, they're not financing this work, at least in our market. They're paying for it directly. So interest rates don't have that much to do with that business, but it does affect everything else in their lives. And I think everyone else listens to these things too. They listen to these conversations about what is the economy going to do, like what is going to happen with inflation. And so I think a lot of people also are just in a holding pattern as far as, at least in our household. So a sample size of one, we've really pulled back on spending because I don't know what's going to happen. So we're not going and making larger purchases. We're focusing on needs, not wants. Got to figure a lot of people are like that, at least on the residential side. So the residential side trickles up to commercial. So if a business has less consumers, if the business is making less money, they're probably going to get a little bit cautious as well. We haven't seen a major slowdown in either. So we've seen a nice uptick in the second quarter, but the answer is I don't know. Like, we're cautiously optimistic. Now, we're cutting our expenses. So the beginning of the year, we made a decision we're going to cut expenses by 10% across the board. 10% is our goal. If we can cut a little bit more, all the better for that, right? So just in case business does slow down, we'll still be in a good space. But if business doesn't slow down, then what do you know? We've got more that made it to the bottom line after it made it through the expenses portion of the P&L. We're cautiously optimistic, I guess. So we're dialing down our expenses. We're hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst, sort of thing. That's my answer. It's probably not a great answer, but that's my answer. I wish the Cardinals would take my call. All right, guys. The one and the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Caleb Roth is with us today. Caleb, how are you? Uh-oh. No sound.
All right, there's the sound button. Good morning.
Good morning, Caleb. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great.
Very good, very good. We were just in the middle of saying hello to everybody. We've already got kind of a good subject lined up, I think, in
Awesome.
the comments. So let's see. Okay.
Can never get your hat straight in the camera.
No, and it's always like, is that right? And then I move my head. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna wear it.
Yep.
Kev Wheatley says, love to know your thoughts on my compressed dirt, no concrete post anchor Joe. Kev, I'd like to try it. I'd like to try it just to see before I give an opinion on it. It's different enough that I understand the theory behind it, but I understand it at a 30,000 foot view. I probably don't understand it as well as I should at the 10,000 foot view. Kev, why don't you reach out to me directly? We'll see about, if I need to buy a sample, I can to try out and just see how it goes. Joe at thefenceexpert.show. Send me a message and we will line something up. Brandon, are you reading the comments here? I don't.
YouTube. Why? What's on Facebook?
Nah, I don't. It's on. I think this. Never mind. It's not. It's nothing bad. It's just a really long comment about This is probably great for video. I apologize for you guys. Anyway, we'll get through that. All right. Roger Bencourt says, "Hey, Fence fam, is Caleb driving and listening to you guys?" Yeah, welcome, Roger. So, Caleb, we're getting back to. I'd like to get back to having you on the show once a month. It seems like, listen, everybody's going a million miles an hour.
Time flies.
I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, we're at the end of the month. Okay, yep. So I guess here we are again. How are things going on the expert side?
Man, it's going. Like you said, it's wide open. It's going nuts, and we're just focusing on business. We're loving it. So it does seem like a few minutes since I've seen you, though.
I know.
We were there for a while. We were traveling a whole lot, and now we're in the trenches. So I kind of like being in the trenches, though, to be honest.
Yeah. It's funny how like people talk about seasons of life and that sort of thing. I think you have seasons of business, too, where you kind of modulate between working on the business, working in the business. Right, you work on it for quite a while, but then you're like, you know what? I'd like to work in the business for a little bit, too, and you kind of switch back to that mode. I feel like that's kind of where we're at the moment is kind of like you said, getting back in the trenches, working in the business for a little bit.
You got to do it.
How's the new building coming?
The big doors went on yesterday. We're fully enclosed, waiting on electrical inspection because we're moving 3-phase power into the building. Oof. And the walls are painted. Floor's coming next. HVAC's going in. It's coming along.
Coming right along. I can't wait to see what it's like when it's done. It was very cool doing the walkthrough.
Wood siding. It looks beautiful, man. It's really
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Guys, if you didn't watch the video, so when I was out at St. University, Caleb and I took a brief tour through the building. Turned out it was already really nice. I can't wait to see how it turns out.
Yeah, How's St. We have a road now. Yeah, that's the main thing. We have a real road. Big road.
There you
Expensive road. Roads are expensive, it turns out.
I believe it. We just resurfaced our asphalt here, and I can't imagine what new roads cost, asphalt, concrete, or otherwise. It's just,
wow. Probably the most aggravating part was it took me back to my fence days. We did Tennessee one call system here, 811.
Yeah.
We had all the lines marked over and over and over, and the gas company didn't mark the line early on, and I called and said, "Hey, the gas line's not been marked," and they said, "Oh, we've marked everything." And I said, "Well, up the road they're doing construction, and there's these yellow flags all the way down to our property line. Then they stop, and then there's a gas meter, out in the middle of the front of our property, and We've marked it. We've been out there. It's already taken care of. There's nothing left." And the lady finally got nasty on the phone. And I said, "Okay." I said, I can see the line from here. You know where it's at. I'm sending a guy right now to drive down with a backhoe. We're going to rip the line out. I said, "Whose responsibility is that going to be?" And she said, "Hold, please." In about 10 minutes, their company came out and they marked it. And they said, "Well, what do you know? There is a gas line there." So they marked that. Of course, I wasn't going to rip the gas line out. I just kind of had to get the point across. Hey, if I rip it out, who's responsible? Yeah. The water department did the same thing. The water department put blue flags down the road, right up next to the road, and then flags down to our meter. And while we were digging our road in, we had to remove material, build a big base. Our road's 24 feet wide and 75-foot apron out at the road. Oof. And so we're digging down. There's a lot of topsoil. We're removing all that. And we hit a white pipe on the upper part of the road, call the water department. And the guy's like, no, I said, "I've unearthed a little, a piece of PVC pipe. I'd like you to come look at it to make sure that it's not part of your infrastructure." "Nope, nothing there. I'm not going to waste my time." And I said, "Are you sure? Would you just please come out and look?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll come look." He looked at it. He said, "Nope, not mine." I said, "Okay." So we kept working, and we didn't uncover that one anymore. And then we got a track loader in there, a big 963 Caterpillar track loader, and we're moving topsoil out, a lot of topsoil, because I found a lot of really good topsoil.
Nice.
And we go in, it's wet. There's a spring. My guys keep saying there's a spring in the ground here. It's just getting wet, and it's been like that for a while. And this dozer goes in there, and it rolls into this rut, and when it does, a 6-inch water main rolls out of the ground, and it doesn't break.
Oh.
And that's the white pipe that I was talking about. That was not the water department's. And so I called the water department and I said, I found a water main. And they said, well, we've already marked it and there's no water main there. And I said, come look. So it just so happened that the guy that didn't want to look was on vacation. And so a guy from the next county over came. And he said, well, that guy works under my license, so I'll take care of it. I'll look at it anyways. And he said, holy cow. He walked right out and he looked at his map and he got out and he said, that's the water main. That's right, exactly where it's supposed to be. And I said, well, I know it's the water main. And, it's so we wound up digging the whole water main out and putting gravel around it, securing it in there and fixing it so it wasn't an issue. But it just the struggle that you fence guys must go through getting people to mark their own infrastructure is just incredible.
Yeah, and it's water's the craziest thing. I don't know why. I'm a fence guy. I'm not a water guy, so maybe there's a reason. But a lot of these utilities will put a trace wire in, right? So they can hook up to it on one end. They can trace it exactly where it's at. They know where it's at, and then they mark it. And you say 2 feet on either side of the marking, and you're fine. Mm-hmm. Water doesn't participate in this theory. They just have, like you said, maps. And so then they just like, okay, so 24 feet this way, put a mark. 37 foot that way, put a mark. And it's all on degree headings. So you get somebody a little bit off, 3 degrees off, they're reading the compass wrong or they're stepping wrong, and all of a sudden your water markings are not even in the same area. Yeah. And so then you find yourself, I mean, imagine if you poked a hole in that 6-inch water main. I mean, it would have been Niagara Falls.
Yeah, I could have ripped it out.
Yeah.
I could have tore the water main out. It would have been fine.
Well, and you've done your due diligence twice.
Yeah. I did it probably 5 or 6 times, but it's a lot. And luckily I have a great office staff who stayed on top of the one call and kept it updated.
We've got a story that's kind of similar in that we were doing work on the south side of town. Now this was
it's crazy. This can just.
So our story is similar, but
we
ours was with fiber optic. Now this is probably every bit of 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago at this point. They all blend together. But this is when fiber was very new. Like fiber was not repairable. It was you got to replace it from pedestal to pedestal. So we're doing work, and it's in a big open field. We're putting in a bunch of ranch rail for a business. And we call in the locates. And we had an on-site meeting because it was a pretty big project. And I was like, we just wanted them to know, hey, here's where the fence is going. You don't need to mark the entire place, down this line, across, and this is where we're putting in fence. Well, AT&T decided, or no, it was Mediacom, so our local internet provider. So they decided they don't have anything in the area. So we had this meeting. Mediacom rep's not there. Call Mediacom. Nothing in conflict. Like, well, do you want to send somebody just to make sure? Nope. Nothing in conflict. Okay. So we have the meeting. Everyone else marks. We get an email from them because my dad's like, just send me something in writing that says you guys don't have anything here. They send an email. Nothing in conflict. Second hole. Got a big skid steer. We're poking holes. And you hear the augers go, wah, 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 wah. It just bogged down. That's weird. There's no trees. There's
10,000
nothing.
wires come out of the ground.
I mean, this thing was bigger than your wrist. I mean, it was a big set of fiber optic, and it was 10,000 of them jammed in this thing, and they're all like splintered and gnarly. Like, well, okay. So we called it in as a dig up. We're like, we found fiber. I know enough about fiber optic to know that's what this is. So we called it in, and like you said, about 10 minutes later, Mediacom truck with lights flashing comes pulling up, and he said, I want to know who's responsible here. It was me and a couple other guys. I guess it's me. I don't know. Like, how can I help you? He's like, who dug this up? Like, well, we did. He goes, I'll have you know, we got to replace all the fiber. He goes, you've knocked the Springfield south of the interstate out of internet. He said, you are going to be held responsible. Well, I'm not. No. We've got an email from you guys that says there's nothing in conflict. I'm sure someone will be held responsible. I don't doubt that. It won't be us, though. We tried to have you out for the meeting. We had I bet they had 20 guys out there and a couple backhoes just digging up frantically trying to get, because so south of this intersection or south of this interstate is still, there's a ton of businesses over there. So I'm sure there were businesses without internet that were just screaming. We caught, I'd have to go back and look. It was like a 20, they sent us an invoice and it was like $20,000 or $25,000 for this. And Dad sent it right back with a copy of that email that said, we have nothing in conflict. And so he's like, we're not paying it. And if we have to get lawyers involved, that's fine, but we will not be paying it. They tried, and then they sent it to collections. And so then, but eventually they just went away. But yeah, I mean, so there is a comment here that says, let's lobby to make these locators be a little bit more mindful and hold them liable for lazy locates. We deal with this crap all the time lately. This is what we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. No locates at all because they're like, oh, we don't have anything there. Well, they did in both these instances, right? They had utilities there. So,
it's almost a homeland security issue.
It could be. It could be.
I mean, because it is infrastructure. It is water, it is gas, it's electricity, and it's data. I mean, what if we were in war and the enemy invaded our territory, the first thing they would do is take out the water, the electricity, and the data. Yeah. That's what they would do. So it almost seems like it does need to be taken a little more seriously.
Well, and that's the thing. It's not hard. Well, in the case of this fiber, it could have been traced easily. Like they could have, because they'll have trace wires buried, especially critical infrastructure like this thing was. Like they could have traced that within inches of knowing where it was. The water's different because they got to go by a map and
we can still witch for water. I mean, we can witch for everything with 2 wires.
Yeah. Yep.
And, wouldn't hurt for that to be on every fence crew. Just walk the line.
Well, but here's the thing, though, Caleb. But then who holds liability for it?
Yeah.
I don't want any part of that. We do the same thing. We do the same thing with survey stakes. I don't want any part of locating survey stakes. Can I? Sure. We've got metal detectors. We can go find these. If they're there, we can find the pins. But the moment you find the pin and you paint it pink, now you are liable for that pin, right? There's some liability that comes on us for establishing that as a boundary marker. Mm-hmm. I don't want any bit of that liability. Yep. I'm a fence guy. That. I want to build fence. If you'd like to have your corners marked, here's the list of 3 or 4 survey companies that we would recommend that you have them out. They can locate them. They can say whether or not they are a survey stake or whether the neighbor decided they were going to move it or whether the previous owner to you to this house decided they were going to move that stake. They can decide.
That happens a lot. People will dig up. I remember a fence job years ago where every night the neighbor would go out, dig up the stakes and move them like 3 feet every night. He did this for a long time, and he took 5 or 10 acres from this guy like that. And the guy was like, I know he's doing it every time. We have to resurvey it every 2 weeks because, and so it was a crazy thing.
And that's the thing is you see this in these Facebook groups where they're talking about surveys. They're like, well, I just got a metal detector and I go out there and do that. That's part of being a fence guy. Not when you build the fence and then all of a sudden now there's a legal battle because somebody moved a pin or, how often in these new neighborhoods, Caleb, do you see offset property lines where the back and the front don't match up? Mm-hmm. Right? Like who's to say, now we could pull the county assessor's plat map online. A lot of them had the GIS systems, but I don't want any part of that because again, there's some liability there of actually creating a boundary line and I'm not a licensed surveyor. So anyway,
crazy times, man. That's the way it goes.
Let the professionals be the professionals. And
we're in a litigious society, which is unfortunate. So we used to check them, we'd find them and mark them, and that's the way it was. But.
That's why. What we have are 2 pin locators. It's what the surveyors use to go try to find it first before they bring out the GPS equipment. But we're not using those anymore. It just, like you said, litigious society. I don't want to be involved in a boundary line dispute. I want the customer to say, I want you to start there and go to there, and I'm going to put paint on the ground. You mean from here to here? Yep, that's exactly where I'm going to build this fence. I'm going to build it well. I'm going to build it right where you say to build it. I'll take liability for that, but I'm not for boundary lines. Not in today's day and age. But anyway, so there is a comment up here that I think we could probably talk about here. So Colby started off by saying T Purple in the house 2023, looking looking great for selling clients on wood maintenance. Then it goes on to talk about how recurring revenue is a game changer. We have to slow down for winter regionally to keep the lights on. We got into a little bit of a discussion on maintenance plans and leading to recurring revenue. My point is that can help increase the value of the business. I had a friend that was trying to buy a business, like a landscaping type business, and the seller said it was worth like $2 million because they did $2 million in revenue last year. Like, well,
wow.
that's not really how
I
that
like
works.
that equation. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, if people are buying that, I've got some things to offer you. But no, we've got to talking about how recurring revenue plays into how you value the business. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. I know we talked a little bit about it at the Springfield event. We talked about it quite a bit at the Nashville Santa University, just about how maintenance plans, bringing them into businesses, just to lead into recurring revenue. I thought that would be a good subject matter for today.
Sure. Well, I think the recurring revenue part, I noticed his line there said about getting them through the winter.
Yeah.
It may keep the lights on. Because you think about it, let's just say you get $39.99 a month from 100 people, or you get $3,900 a month. If you got if you're a one-man show, that will definitely probably do something for you. But if you're, if you've got a full team, that's really not going to move the needle. A fairly large business is not going to run on. It's not going to make that much difference, right? For an extra $3,900 a month. But if you take those 100 customers and you get to service them year after year with new services, and you don't have to acquire that customer, that's valuable. You've got a customer list there that you can call on, and so technically your cost to acquire customers gone, and your margin should go up for those customers. So that's a good thing, and marketing expenses are less, right? So
yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits to that, but I think the main one is to keep your customers. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is to keep the customers. The big businesses you see that sell for millions and billions of dollars, generally they have customers, and that's what you're buying.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the recurring customer list.
For sure.
When we talked a little bit about how, actually, you and I were both in this group. We were in kind of a business mentoring group that was outdoor spaces, and some of the guys in there were like in the pond, the water feature, that sort of business. And those guys loved maintenance contracts because they'd send them out in January 1. They'd say, you got to have it back by March 1. And so what they found is those 3 months that in their business were the tightest, they still had some revenue coming in. Like you said, it probably not life-changing money, but it was
keeps
something.
The light on. Yeah, keeps
That's
the
right.
lights on, right.
I mean, listen, our utility bill around here is around $1,000 a month. So if we had $3,000 a month coming in, like at least it pays for the light and part of the mortgage here, and we can find a little bit of work to scrape by, but it helps is probably the point. To your point, also, it also helps with adding value too. So you're not paying for this customer year on year. The next thing is talking about selling related services to this list. If you have someone that's already comfortable paying you, 1, for the staining and sealing, 2, for a recurring maintenance program, an email every 6 months that says, hey, just want to check in, see how things are going. Also, did you know that we do X, Y, and Z?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Love it. Caleb, so when I say this, I see you guys doing something like this. Right? You guys send out a recurring email saying, did you know we carry these products? Right? How does that email do for you guys?
They do well. So the email platform we use has dollar amounts beside of it. It tracks all that, so we can see what works. And really, I like to send informational ones out that seem to be what I like to do. I think the world tells us we need to send out a sell or a coupon or a hard pitch every week, but I like the informational ones.
Did you know?
Yeah, did you know does very well, and so you'll probably get one tomorrow. You'll probably get one.
I love it.
We do those, and it's fun. I think the recurring revenue is also going to help you scale if you want to, because if you get 200 or 500 customers every year, and then next year I got to get 500 more, and the next year I got to get 500 more. Well, if you keep 25% of those customers every year, after 5 years, you've got more customers than you can handle in a year. So it means growth. You have to hire more crews, more team members, and it's steady and it's something you can count on. So I
Yeah.
think that's what's important. So I think a lot of guys just expect on year one that it's going to make a huge difference and we're going to have all this free money coming in. It's not, but it's going to be something you can build up over time and
Absolutely.
really make a difference with time. It's like a fine wine, I think.
I couldn't agree more. And and I think when you come at it from that perspective that, hey, this is a 5-year plan. Now we will see small successes along the way, but in 5 years, when we turn around and look back at how far we've come, that's where the impact is.
Yeah.
That you've got this a client list that is used to paying you either on a monthly or quarterly or annually basis this sum of money, and so there's different maintenance plans out there. Like, we can structure them however we want. The one I like is an annual cleaning. So, and it can be just the Eco Clean product, a sodium percarbonate product, to where we go out, we knock the bird mess off of it, we clean it up for spring, because like right now everyone's graduating, or in the next little bit everyone's going to be graduating. So this is when I would be saying, hey, your outdoor space is getting ready to get a lot of use. How about we come through, clean this thing up for you, make it look great as part of our annual maintenance plan. You pay me once a year, it's clean, period. And you can build in discounts on restaining services, or you can build it however you want. The annual cleaning service, does it need cleaned every year? Debatable, right? It looks nicer when it is, but when we're talking about does it need it, debatable. I like being in that neighborhood every year, though, because then you better believe it's going to be a big orange van or a big orange truck that is sitting in front of this house while we're in there cleaning it, making it look nice. So now also we're marketing in a neighborhood. If we're doing one client in that neighborhood, there's a good chance we'd like to do 2 or 3 more. We get into some synergies there as well. So we're also doing some marketing while we're there. The customer sees us once a year. They know exactly, hey, here's where my money's going towards. Every 3 years, we're going to restain this thing. There's a lot more to it than the recurring revenue is great, and the retaining the customers is great, but there's also the marketing aspect to it too that you don't want to forget either. Because when we leave, we're going to put a sign on the yard that says something like, regularly maintained by Ozark Stainless Steel, whatever the sign says too.
Back in the backyard all the time. People get to see you.
And then, like I said, every 6 months there's an email. Hey, did you know we do this, and this, and these related services?
I like access better than selling the actual service. I like the access, the model for access. Most of your so the way you can keep the costs down is with access. So it's very difficult to project what it's going to cost a year from now for stain service, because labor, oil, economy could go up or could go down. Same thing with cleaning service. And so we tried to get people to bundle up that service and just pay for it throughout the year, and then once a year we would come out and perform the service. And that had 2 problems. One, usually it was a higher per month price, because we had to take this $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 ticket and break it down over 24, 36 months. And so that was tough. And when you get to the job, 2 years out and you stain it, you had all that expense today, but you've really absorbed all of those payments over the years. So it didn't really feel great. But if we gave access a very low price per month, maybe $9.99, $10.99, $29, $39.99 a month, then it gives them access to discounts, front of the line service, et cetera. And that's the way a lot of HVAC companies do it. But that's also kind of tough to sell because they don't get to touch or feel anything. So what the HVAC guys do is we're going to come and inspect your air conditioner. It's $9.99 a month, and we're going to check it at the beginning of spring and the beginning of winter. And then that's where they get their upsells. So what we've done, similarly, we've done the citronella product. We call it natural defense. It's a blend of 5 essential oils, keeps bugs off the fence, keeps bugs out of the backyard. It's evolved since what we've sent you. And so that's what we do for $39.99 a month. And we'll come out twice a year and blow all the debris off the fence or deck. We will inspect the fence or deck. So, hey, your gate latch is, it needs some issues or whatever. We might fix that. And we'll apply that natural defense twice a year. And then they get front of the line service. They get discounts. They get special offers, they
Yep.
get things, they get perks. And that's what the membership is. Most people, so we'll do that even if you build a new fence and you can't afford to have it stained. A lot of people get the quote and they say, well, I can't afford it now because Joe Everest is the most expensive fence guy in town. And,
Sure.
I went with the premium orange fence. And so they say, but I'll call you back in the fall, we'll get it done later. And they never call. But if we can get them to say, you know what, I understand, I appreciate that you're the kind of person who likes quality, right? So you bought a quality fence from Joe Everest. But so I also know you want to take care of it. So if you can't afford the full service now, let's go ahead and get you on this expert club for $39.99 a month. We can go ahead and keep the bugs off of it. We can do something for it now, and then that's going to get you a discount later on down the road. When it is time. And now I'm going to be emailing them. They're going to be seeing me. They're not going to forget, less likely to forget. And we've got the customer. So if you're paying the electric company or the plumbing HVAC company $10 a month, and they come and check your air conditioner, they look at it and wash it off with the water hose once a year, twice a year. When your water heater goes out, who are you going to call?
Yep. Those
I'm
guys.
calling the dude I've been paying $9.99 a month to because he owes me, right? And so that's the idea. So I like the idea of selling access. That's what we've evolved to, is the access. You get access to the discounts to the front of the line, and we'll sweeten the deal by keeping some bugs out of the backyard or out off the fence.
Sure, absolutely. And we use Company Camo, like a photo storage software, not storage software, but a photo software, where when we're doing the maintenance, we'd actually go through, take pictures too. Mm-hmm. So say, hey, if a hailstorm rolls through here, because the first thing insurance adjusters do is they say, well, we're going to depreciate out this fence because we're pretty sure it was damaged before the storm, so we're only going to pay you a portion of that. We say, no, we will email you the pictures right after we take them. You'll get them. We'll keep them if you need them again, but then also you have documentation that says on April the 28th, this was a condition of the fence. It didn't have hail damage. It was in really good shape. Now we can talk about paying more of this claim than less of it. And to your point, we would also do gate adjustments while we're there. We would do all of the things just so that they knew, hey, their fence is in tip-top shape. It's not as hard to sell this as I think people think it may be, or they make it out to be. Because like you said, it's totally normal for HVAC companies. They kind of pioneered this, where we'll come out twice a year. We'll check your AC system in the spring. We'll check your heat system in the fall. Make sure you're ready to go. Knowing that, do they really need serviced every year? Probably not, but people want to make sure.
I think the auto industry did it before, because really, if you think about it, you take your car in to get an oil change or whatever, they do a 18-point inspection, right? And that's part of the fee, right? So we're looking for things, and people feel good that they did a 376-point inspection on your car.
Right.
And
they got a checklist.
Yeah, they got a checklist, and that's what it is. I think there's for a lot of people, most of the guys listening to the show are probably really handy with a screwdriver, with a wrench. I can change a motor in a car. I can put a track back on a skid steer. I can fix a bulldozer engine. It's not my job, but I know how to do it because I grew up doing those things. So things to me, like maybe mowing my grass or whatever, may not seem like something that I would want to pay somebody to do. But I am not my customer.
Sure.
My customer wants to know that everything's okay. They want to know that it's been inspected. They want to know that it's been taken care of properly. So I think we have to get it out of our head that, well, I wouldn't pay for that, so who else would? So in the cities and things, people, they don't want to worry about it. So they want to make sure they work with a company that can get those things handled for them. And if there is a problem, the company will identify it for them, and they'll fix it for them. Years ago, one of our max latch gates, that you got the pin and the striker or whatever. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the gate will hang a little bit, snag, and you take a hammer, you hit the pin up, and it lines up perfectly, right? And so I remember 15 years ago or whatever, we built a fence for this guy, a really nice fence. And he said, the gate's just not lining up just perfectly. I need you to come out and adjust it. And I said, well, what's going on? And he sent me a picture or something. And I said, just grab a hammer, give it one little lick straight up. And I said, that'll fix it. It's just slightly out of adjustment. He said, I don't have a hammer. And I realized something that day, that we are all not built the same, So
Right.
Those people need us, man. So
yeah.
I like the access model. That's what we're putting our eggs in that basket.
Well, let's circle back around. Let's say hi to a few people. Let's circle back around because I've got a few more thoughts just on some benefits here. We know this guy. What's up, Clint? Says hi from Amity. Amity, good to see two NAFCA members via YouTube. Clint, it's
Good
good
morning,
to see you.
Clint. Good to hear from you.
We also know this guy. What is up, Cannon Johnson? Morning, gents. Looking good, fellas. Just picked up a stain and go machine from Expert yesterday. So excited for this new venture. I like it.
Cannon's is getting the upgrade, man. We're upgrading his. I got his parts right here. I'll show them to you in a few minutes.
All right, so I'd like to see what part. So we actually just got some parts in the modifier, so it'd be good
How
to
does
kind of
this
compare.
look? How does that look? Does that look better?
Yep. So one, I don't really want to run down there and go see.
No, I'll say it. The machine with this machine was designed for smooth cut lumber. Smooth cut lumber does not have sawdust on it. So when you stain smooth cut lumber, this machine works beautifully. For rough cut lumber, it needs a bigger drain because of all the sawdust. And so we're going to go from a 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch drain to this big guy right here with a big, huge ball valve on it. And that's going to make it a lot more friendly for guys like Joe.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're doing. That's version 2. We just got a lot of version 1 machines, but version 2 will be manufactured that way. So it's going to be really nice.
Yeah, we got a inch or inch and a half bulkhead with a ball valve on it. We're gonna see about mounting that probably next week. But you guys will be seeing a video shortly of version 1.0. We did the initial unboxing, and then we ran like 100 pickets through it. And then the next day or the day after, a couple days later, we ran 600 pickets and 60 some odd rails through it. And that's where the 100 pickets, we didn't really have an issue with sawdust just because it didn't have enough time to accumulate. The 600 pickets, it had a little bit more time to accumulate. But you and I jumped on the phone and worked through a solution. So you guys will be seeing that video shortly.
Can't wait to see it.
Chris Caruso, Chris Circuit Distributors. Hey guys, great to see both of you. Great to see you as well. We love stain, and specifically Expert Stain and Seal. Couldn't agree more.
Thank you.
Well, Kyle's got a question, not a stain question, but any ideas where I can get a Postmaster adapter for a Titan PGD 3200, the one they carry I hate? I don't, but if anyone watching has any ideas where you can get this particular adapter, drop them in the comments below. Ken said they also got their first order of post savers coming from Expert. Building a good fence is where we need to focus. Be different, be better, be an expert. So Cannon's really hitting a nail on the head here, which is providing additional value is always good for the customer, and it's good for the business, right? Because we can also talk about markup. When we add more value, we can also increase the markup or the net profit, right? We have a higher ticket to markup. That leads us with more profit at the end of the project. So Cannon's hitting this nail on the head. But I think this is something to talk about because we talk about increasing our margins, right? We need to get X%. I like 50%. But I think people mishear me when they say, well, I could never take advantage of my customer like that. Just raise my rates and I'd be taking advantage. Well, no. I'm not talking about raising your rates without bringing additional value. I'm talking about doing what Cannon's doing, which is bringing exceptional value to his clients. Because he's saying, hey, listen, we've got a stain and go machine. We can pre-stain your fence board so you're not worried about staying in the yard now or overspray. We can bring them to you already stained. And also, the posts that go in the ground, they're going to be protected by post savers. And that's going to lead to a longer fence because everyone knows fence failure typically starts at the post. So let me head that off at the pass by introducing you to the post saver product. That's how you increase your margins, by bringing additional value to the client.
Man, I just think everybody's got the wool pulled over their eyes about that, to be honest. I mean, the electric company, the phone company, Netflix, they're all running 99%, maybe 100% gross profit margins. And it costs them nothing to onboard somebody at the phone company for new internet service or whatever. And here we are complaining over 50%. If you're getting a 50% margin, that's a great place to start. But really, you got to get the margin because you're not taking advantage of your customer. You're actually taking advantage of your customer if you're running a 20 or 30% margin. Because when they need you, there's a good chance you're not going to be there. The 50% margin is a place to start to ensure that in 3 years, if your gate falls off, I'm going to come and fix it. because I'm still going to be in business, and I'm going to have good employees that aren't smoking crack. Because I can't, that may sound a little rough, but you know what it's like. If you're paying the bottom wage, you're going to get the bottom level employees. People don't want that in their yard. I think most people, there's a reason Starbucks is doing what it's doing. People want quality. So I think you've got to get that margin so you can take care of your team, so you can be there to service your customers in the future. So I think that's pretty strong argument there.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And the point I was making was, listen, if you've got to figure out how to bring your value commensurate to what you're charging, right? I'm not saying, hey, if you're charging 35%, I'm not saying charge 50% tomorrow for the same product, right? Add value to build up to the 50% or more, right? And so that's kind of the road I was going down. Was Cannon's hitting this exactly right in that he's building more value to the clients so that then he can justify the additional margin to charge to the customer.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is kind of an interesting thought. So I'm not sure how this will be helpful, but maybe visiting the clients every 3 months in person after installation may help in getting valuable inputs. Emails will certainly boost the understanding of the customer insights, but visiting will certainly give more confidence to the customers. So this is something we did pre-pandemic, and so seeing this reminds me that we should probably start it again, not every 3 months, but we would do a 12-month follow-up to where, so we built the fence, so we'd say, hey, it's time for your 12-month follow-up. We just want to come out, make sure the gates are adjusted correctly, make sure there's not any problems with the fence. It's included in the price. It's no cost to you. It is actually just a warranty review of the fence that we actually come out to conduct.
Yeah.
And so in that email had a scheduling link. Right. And so we would schedule a maximum of 2 a day, Monday through Thursday, and go out and do exactly what we say we're going to do. Right. We would send out, scatter some of the guys with tools to adjust a gate, because gates, we're talking about wood fence here. Right. So gates need adjustment. But while he was out, he said, hey, while I'm here, I noticed that you didn't have your fence pre-stained. This would be a great time to get on the schedule to have your fence stained. This would also be a good time to talk about, we replaced 2 parts of your fence. That back line, it's looking like it's about time to replace it. Would you like a bid just to know what that would look like when you're ready to do that? Absolutely. And people were amazed that we would come out to do a 1-year warranty review. Like, you want to come back and fix it? Well, yeah, because I'm fixing it on my schedule.
Yeah, you're educating them too.
Right.
Because now when the neighbor wants a fence, they'll go, hey, I noticed Joe, the guy in orange was in your backyard, and I'm thinking about getting a fence. And he goes, they did a great job, but I didn't pre-stain mine. If I had to do it over again, I'd get it pre-stained. If you get one, you should definitely get it pre-stained now. I mean, he's selling for you. So
absolutely. And he came out to do a warranty review for free. Like, I was really expecting to have a $99 charge when he showed up, but he didn't charge me. He adjusted the gates. He walked the fence, make sure everything looked great. He didn't charge me anything. I can't believe it. So now you have a little bit of a cheerleader on your team also, so that when they are ready, to your point about access, when they are ready to replace that back fence, who do you think they call? Well, they call the guy that put his money where his mouth is. Not only do they have a lifetime warranty, they come out for free to make sure you don't need any warranty. They actually look for stuff to fix. But yeah, so maybe not every 3 months. We do that. When we were doing that, we would do it as a 12-month follow-up, a 1-year
12
follow-up.
months is great. You could also do 3 months and then 12 months.
You could hit it. The nice thing here too is we were doing it on our schedule, right? So we would just tell them what days and times we had available, so that we're getting a little bit ahead of it too. So they don't call us and say, hey, this gate doesn't work. It hasn't worked for months. I need you to come out now to fix it. Well, hopefully we were already there. We were there the first year. Yeah. Because that's when most of the settling is going to occur, right? So, and this is kind of a discussion that we have when we're talking about digging versus driving, is when you're digging the post, you're disturbing all the soil around that hole. Now, you can fill it with concrete, or you can do whatever you choose to do when you're setting this post, but the soil's still disturbed around it. So even setting it with concrete, you're going to see a little bit of settling as the ground around this hole recompacts. Typically happens in the first year. After a wet season and a dry season, you usually see a little bit of settling. So we found that by doing a 1-year checkup, that's pretty much all the maintenance this gate needs. Now, we will come back and it's a lifetime warranty. So if they call in 7 years, we will go right back and adjust that gate, knowing that the chances of that call happening slim to none, right? But if it happens, we will do it. The first year is where the majority of these calls come in. So that's where that 12-month follow-up comes into play.
You know, there's something else that just kind of very rarely do most guys get to go back and look at their work. And we know we build a good fence or do a good stain job or do a good paint job or whatever it is when we leave it. Most of us are not going to leave a job in bad condition, right? It's going to be right. But very seldom do we get that opportunity to see what it looks like a year down the road, 3 years down the road. So I think that's a great opportunity to take notes and learn and say, you know what? The way we're building these gates, it sags an inch every single time after a year or you know, the way, and that's the way we fixed our cut-in problem. So a lot of the, you know, stain companies out there teach wetting the house down with water and then just spraying the fence with a sprayer and then rinsing it with water again or degreaser or whatever. And we used to do that. And what we found was 3 months, 6 months down the road, the 1 or 2 pickets next to the house were lighter. Well, guess what? We don't do anymore. We cut everything in by hand and we spray, you know, up to the, you know, the last 2 or 3 pickets, then we cut it all in by hand and we mask. And our callbacks are down and our jobs look better. And so it's good to go back and look and see and then change your service. What we found was all the shortcuts that I could do as an owner operator. When we try to scale the business with team members, we can't do it because everybody's not going to do it the way that I do it. So we had to simplify things. And maybe it kind of hit me as an epiphany years ago. It was like the things, the shortcuts for me cost you later. They cost you more time. So we found it's just faster to we got the 7 steps, baby, on our work orders. You got to follow the steps. So
the dollar you save tomorrow costs you $2, or the dollar you save today costs you $2 tomorrow.
Certainly can.
Brian Fredrickson, what's up, guys? What's up, Brian? Mr. FWA, how are you? Cannon says, never sold a service like that, but I love it. Probably talking about the maintenance programs. I think this is something we should talk more about. We should keep talking about it until people figure it out, especially from a fence company, where fence companies don't necessarily have a recurring revenue model, right? Like there's not a great one, but by adding staining services, now you have a pathway to a recurring revenue model through these maintenance plans. Yep. We add a good amount of revenue to our business yearly by offering staining and sealing. Cannon, exactly what you're getting ready to start doing is pre-staining. Does very well for us. It really does. So I think Brian's a little confused on how this works. He says, I've been running all my chain link wire through the machine and it's going through rollers. Any idea how to fix that? Brian, that's not actually how you get color-coded wire. Not how you do it.
But if it works, let us know.
Well, not the manufacturer's recommended use of the machine, but yeah, can you just imagine running black stain through that or black paint or whatever going, it's just not, guys, this is chewing up rollers.
The Probably expert wire coder.
There's a few guys who would like to have a conversation with you about that, Brian, because that could really be a game changer. John says, is there going to be any more Staining University events this year? Hopefully warmer one.
John, are you in Nashville? Is this John from Princess Fences?
Oh, maybe.
Let me know if it is. Stained his fence years ago. But anyways, nice. I don't know. You know, we haven't really got anything on the books yet. We're in such a growth phase, and it's just, man, we're just getting after it. I really like the big one every year. I think this last Staining University really opened my eyes to the fact that we need to make it bigger. We need to make it bigger, and we need to really focus on that one big one and just really knock it out of the park every year. Yep. I'm not opposed to doing a bunch of smaller ones, but
sure,
really got to have one showstopper.
We've done that in years past, and I'll give my impressions, which is not necessarily your thoughts. These are my thoughts. It's a pretty large expense for not as large of a return, right? In terms of, we would have travel expense, lodging expense, meals, and all this to sit and talk with maybe a handful of contractors about staining, when we could have the same expense and talk to several hundred contractors. If we're talking about money spent versus training received, or however you want to say that, the individual trainings just didn't seem like that was there.
Well, I think the main reason was because many times when we do those trainings, we did have expense getting there and doing things, but we generally left it up to the local supplier who was hosting the event. And you're a supplier, you're not a show or an event organizer. So a lot of those guys kind of have to pull it out of nowhere and just kind of figure it out and probably not market it as well as it could be. And so for us, when a supplier host an event for us, they shut their whole operation down for 1 or 2 days, and they have to host us, and then they feel the need to take us out to dinner because we're coming for free to do their event, and then when they don't get the turnout that they deserve or need, to me that's a problem because our goal is to make a supplier be successful.
Yeah.
And so if they don't get enough people, we were out money, but our supplier, who we came down here to make a win out of, it just didn't work for them. So
very true.
But it's difficult to do, 10 Super Bowls a year. I mean, there's a reason there's only one. So
yeah.
So that's kind of the way I see it. How can we make it the biggest and best and get everybody there?
This year it's funny. We say this every year where we're like, I don't know how it could get any bigger. Like this year was massive. Like I don't know how it seems like every year it gets progressively larger. This year was a massive show, massive turnout.
Oh, I know how to make it bigger. We're working on it.
Okay. So John, the answer so John answered you, Caleb. So he's in Indy.
He's in Indy.
Yeah.
I know several John Cummings.
Oh, but he was at the Nashville event. So very good. It was a little chilly, was a little rainy, but you know what's funny? So we were doing a bunch of these events, and it rained 99% of the time. Like I don't know that we did one where it didn't rain, honestly. Well, North Carolina event, I don't think it rained for that event. So that might have been the one.
Yeah, but the food trucks 500 burly contractors.
Yeah.
They send a barbecue truck and a vegan truck, right? and so the barbecue truck was a three hour wait, and the vegan lady was over there like, I got burgers and stuff, and there's soy burgers, and I was like, there's that one guy over there at the soy truck. So.
Yeah. Like I'll give it 3 hours. That's fine. Well, and in their defense, they had another truck that had canceled. Like it broke down or something, and they couldn't show it. So it's like the next day sorted out. Like they had all the food and it was ready.
Yeah.
But that first day, it was a little rough.
It's got to be tough running a vegan food truck. In the South. Yeah.
That's true. That's probably true. We know this guy, Matt Ladisser. I almost said the other one. Matt Ladisser. What is it? So if you guys listen to the intro song, this is the guy. How do I point? I point like that. That's the guy. It's Matt. So Matt, what is up?
Young.
Well, yeah, that picture's not current. The picture's not current. Matt, appreciate you coming in. We should have Matt here like on a live. Like I think that would be awesome. Let's see. Your thoughts on how AI is going to play an important role in the fencing industry. We are just like hitting all the big topics today. I don't know. That's the answer. I mean, so with marketing right now, right? So you could, in AI, we're probably talking about like Chat GPT and that sort of thing. This is like every day I'm learning more about this sort of stuff. Like there is, you can teach it about you and your business, you could teach it things and then say, hey, this is what's important to us. This is what we think is important to our clients. This is how we do it. This is what we stand for. Now, please create a 60-second video script relaying, these top points, and it'll send it out. And then you can give it critiques. Like, please change this, this, and this in this way, and it will change, but it also learn too. So I don't know. For a fence guy, it's a lot to digest. That is for sure.
Yeah. I see. Just use it. We don't know. It's like the internet. Like it's so new that we don't know. Can you imagine what it'll be in 10 years? But I think it's got a place, right? I guess everybody thought, I've been saying this for years and I didn't know how true it was. I was saying that the tradesmen, that's where the future is going to be. The money is going to be in the guys who are tradesmen.
Yep.
And I never dreamed AI would come along. Everybody thought that robots and computers and things would replace boots on the ground first, right? It's going to replace the coders, the web designers, the video people. It's going to replace those things first. So that's what I was telling some of, Will, the camera guy, that I said, look, man, your generation, you've got to figure out how to use this AI. That's what's going to make you forget everything else. You've got to learn how to take this and use this in what you're doing to become valuable. And I think that's true because I don't see it going away.
No, it's not. And when we were saying it was going to replace boots on the ground, we were picturing like Terminators, right?
Yeah.
Like going out and fighting battles.
But
actually what it's doing is it's making the war machine smarter. There are less boots on the ground because we can be more effective in other ways than just putting boots on the ground. I was listening to this other podcast talking about chip manufacturing here in the United States, which the United States is investing billions of dollars in domestic chip manufacturing. They have AI learning in these chips that they put into war machines. They were talking about tanks and stuff to where it makes them progressively smarter. Like they learn and adapt that and whether it's talking about guidance or it's talking about whatever it's talking about, it makes these things smarter so that you need less people to operate them. Right. So the thing is guiding itself to a certain extent, and it's doing so now you can run an Abrams tank with less people in it. Right. So that's actually how we're reducing boots on the ground, not by replacing them with robots, but by making the few people that are on the ground more effective.
Yeah.
So is that how AI affects fencing? I don't know. Like we will just have to see. I mean, listen, these YouTube videos live forever. So like whatever we guess is going to come back to us like 10 years from now. They're like, oh yeah, you didn't think there was going to be robot fencers? Well, guess what? Here's the Fence Master 3000, the thing that can build fences as you go.
Yeah, well, like locates, Tennessee one calls or Missouri one calls, whatever, 811 system. You could probably automate that. Software would automatically, when you close a job, it automatically does the locate. There's probably a lot of things that we could do. Marketing for sure.
And that gets into that's a whole big discussion. And so what you were talking about hints at blockchain, right? That it would pull information from a large system on the blockchain and then start feeding it out to ancillary services. So the locates, because we've already got all the information. We have a layout diagram. We have the GIS map. We've already got it in our system. We've got the address, the phone number. Yeah. And then you just tell it, hey, at this milestone, we need this, and here is the scheduled install date, so we need to back the locates up a week prior to that, or whatever your deal is. There were a lot of good conversations going on about blockchain ideas while crypto was hot. Now that crypto is not as hot, the blockchain conversations aren't going on as much, but I think it's something to think about, just about how we can give transparency to customers. If you gave customers access, right now we do it like through a portal, but if you gave them a blockchain ID to where they could see every step of the process, hey, the work order's been entered, the materials are verified that they're on site. The locates have been called. The locator is scheduled to be out. You could give so much transparency through the process to give customers a little bit more reassurance that you haven't run to Mexico with their deposit. Right. So I think this is a whole conversation all of it itself. I'm here for it. But we know this guy also. Bam, what's up, Bam? Bam is here.
He was working on Saturday earlier. He was up here.
No, guy never sleeps, I don't think.
Never sleeps.
So this is kind of a good question. This is a good question. What do you consider to be your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? And well, before he said that, he had said, besides building good fences, what do you consider to be your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? It's a big question.
The last few years, it's really been important to me in the thought process of how many things, how many people had to sacrifice, how many people had to die, how many people had to do a lot of things to get to here. And there's almost, I think, I want to be careful how I say this. Like, you have a responsibility. I feel like I have a responsibility to not be so selfish, and like the next 1,000 years of my family depend on the things I do today. So, and they don't have to remember me. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like probably 1,000 years ago, somewhere, somebody literally went and, you know, the British are coming or whatever. The bad guys or the Huns are coming over the hill. They're going to kill the kids and the wife that are over here. I'm going to go sacrifice myself so that they can live. And people did that a lot. Or there's a mountain lion or there's a saber-toothed tiger, and I'm going to go. I know that as I walk out here, I won't come back, but my family will live. And how many people had to sacrifice to get us all to where we are? Every single one of us. And so for me to be selfish and not do the very best that I can is not fair to the future generations. It's not fair to the people behind us. So that's been on my mind a lot lately. Legacy, I feel like the word legacy really means like I want people to remember me. And that's not necessarily it for me. I think I just want to make sure that I do the things that future generations need me to do so that they can have good morals, have good family tree, have good roots, if that makes sense. They're not going to remember me, right? So what can I do to just make sure that they are prepared, or they are have a good foundation under them? So, and I don't know what the answer is yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like the legacy I leave behind is that I made it better for those around me, right? That, and whether it's through, through these trainings, through charitable donations, through whatever it is, through whatever we do here on the channel, is that I had a positive impact and I made things better. I improved things, maybe just a small increment, but I made things better for those around me. I think that's a positive legacy to leave behind.
Yeah, if you can touch as many people possible and they can all do that, let's make that cool. Let's make it cool to do the right thing.
Well, and that's what I'm telling you. So we give quite a bit here at the office and to this local organization called Sertoma, and that's kind of, that's what when we're in these we have lunches every week, and I'm like, guys, listen, if little old fence guy can donate this kind of money to help kids in our community, what can you guys do? Like, if a family-owned fence company can do this, I think it's possible for you to do this, and you to do this, and you to do this, so that we can all band together to make things better. Because my granddad knew back in the day that by building a stronger community, we'd have a stronger community to support our company. Yeah. Right? It's a cyclical cycle. If we have a more prosperous community, we have a more prosperous business. If we have a stronger community, we have a stronger business. So we have a history of giving back to the community. I'm trying to make it bigger and better, and that starts with the kids, right? Like, it's cliche, but the kids are our future. Like, these are the people that will be the business professionals in the next 20 years. So I think that's a legacy I want to continue, is building better communities, and whether that's locally or in the fencing community, whatever.
I got a serious question, Joe.
Okay.
Have you coached a T-ball team yet?
I am.
I'm doing two T-ball team. I'm doing a coach's pitch and a T-ball, little league and T-ball right now.
Okay.
It's fantastic. I love it.
It teaches patience. It teaches
presence as well. I think when I'm doing that, in fact, that's why I was late this morning, because T-ball is over at 9 or 10, and I'm totally present when I'm there. Yeah, totally present. And there's nothing else on my mind. And seeing the improvement in those little guys and little girls, man, it's pretty cool. Yeah. If you've never done that, I highly recommend it. If you
should do it.
I never thought I would do that.
So Jackson's 5, and so he's still doing T-ball. And last year was the first year? No, second year probably. 5, 4, 3. No, it's probably first. Anyway, they all blend together. It's a lot. My dad told me before I got started, he goes, listen, I'm just going to tell you, it's a lot like herding cats. they're going to run in every direction, and you're going to try to push them in the direction they want. They're going to go every which direction. You just need to be okay with it. If you can get one or two of them to head the right direction, that's a win. And where I see this is like these kids hit the ball, and you want them to run to first. You're like, just get to first. No, they were trained. They go get that ball. And they get it back to the pitcher. It's like,
not on my team, Joe. We're winners over where I'm at. We've won all our games so far. I'm the guy that said, did your dad say it was okay if we lose? Yeah. Well, your dad's a loser and he's wrong. I want these kids winning, man. I don't push them too hard, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, well, we're behind the ball on coaching. So this year, the head coach last year messaged everybody, said they weren't going to be able to coach, and said, "Hey, would you guys want to coach?" Wait, to be clear, I am perfectly fine being the assistant coach. Yeah. I'm not going to be. So my daughter's 14 now, so I helped coach her softball team, and I saw how more involved parents get the older the kids get. Right. And it was like, why Susie leading off instead of being cleanup, or why she at the bottom of the. No. I'm going to go stay on third base, and I'm going to tell them to run when the ball's in the outfield. Like, that's where I want my space to be. And I'm going to tell them to throw the ball where it needs to go. But head coach of these teams, that's commitment. That is commitment for sure.
Yeah, so the league we're playing in is right here in our small town, Alexandria, and it's actually a young lady that's running the show, like the whole league or whatever, and she's giving she wants everybody to have participation trophies at the end. She's 22 years old, and so when they said that, I said, well, then we have to win, because I don't want my kids getting participation trophies. All these kids, I don't want that. They need to win, but I want them to lose some.
Yeah,
I want them to have some hard fought losses and some hard fought wins. But so far,
because the losses make the wins worth it.
Yeah,
like they make them feel better. If everyone gets participation trophies, like, well, then why do I need to win? Why do I need to put in the extra effort if I'm still going to get a trophy at the end of the year?
So our T-ball, we're doing it different. Where you can pitch three pitches, and then if you miss or whatever, 3 strikes or whatever, they're doing 4 strikes for these T-ballers, and if the fourth time you don't hit it, or the third time you don't hit it, then the fourth one you're out, or you can hit it off the tee. You get to choose. And so when the kids get those, every once in a while one will get 3 swings and they miss, and they're like, okay, do you want the tee? And some of them are like, no. And a win for me was saying, hey, you've missed 3. I know you think you can hit it, but if you don't hit this ball, then somebody at the back of the line, they're not going to get to bat. Do you want to do that to your team? And they go, well, I'll do the tee. And then when they do the tee, and then you tell them, hey, you did the right thing because you hit it. You knocked it out in the field and you got bases. And the people behind you are all going to get the hit. And seeing about how to be a part of the team and maybe not do what you want, but do what the right thing is. And I think that's pretty cool. So
yeah,
I'm really enjoying it. I think I'll continue to do it forever. I really like it. It's a commitment, though, man. It's from freaking March to July.
Yeah.
No Saturdays, no Mondays, no Tuesdays, no Thursdays.
Well, see here. So here they do 2 sessions in the summer. So you go through like August, September, and it's all of it. You get right. And some of these kids, my kids don't, but some of these kids are year-round athletes. Right now, they're getting off of soccer, so they're still doing soccer. So we got to cut. I say we have to so Saturdays. So they're at practice right now because Saturdays work for everybody. But practices have to be cut short so that they can go to soccer games because they overlap right now. And in the fall, you get football. So then you get practices cut short, and kids miss games because football's going on. And I don't that's a whole different discussion, but kids playing sports year round is kind of a wild thought too. Man,
you'd love it where we're at. We're kind of country. There's a hole in the outfield that an animal lives in.
Yeah.
Somebody, I think we're going to go smoke him out and get him because the hole, he keeps digging a big old hole in the field. A dog could go down in the hole. So
really,
we got a job to do. And we could go shoot him in our hometown because we're country. So
I love
it. There's never a dull moment.
Fence Vlog says, Jeff says, sign me up for 4 Fence Master 3000s. You're not kidding. Bam says he's blessed or cursed for 3. Oh, good. We're talking about leaving legacy. You're either blessed or you're cursed for 3 generations. That's a weighty thought. Like, am I going to screw the next 3 generations up? I hope not.
And you see that in people, though.
Yeah. Do you think the future will have more demand for jobs such as plumbing, electricity, and manual labor because the youth is leaning towards technology? Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah,
Technology doesn't build fence posts, doesn't build utility poles, it doesn't build sewers.
Well, just that question is almost self-fulfilling prophecy there. If the youth is leaning towards technology, then the youth that leverages their skills in actually being able to do, or not being afraid to do the labor or something,
Yeah.
Would pay well. But also, I think also that if there's good enough leadership programs, you can kind of pay your dues early on, get you can work in the trenches, and then you can move out into more leadership roles, so that you see some of these fence guys that are 50 years old and they're just destroyed, or they work till they're 60 and then they can't walk or whatever. So I think the trades has got to figure a way that we don't want to ride a horse till it dies and then get on another one, right? So if we can find a way to really do well while you're young. And old timers would tell us that work hard while you're young, while you can, and, get it over with. So, I like that.
Yeah. So we need apprenticeship programs is what we need. Like, I feel like that's a step in that direction. That's a step that plumbing, electricals, or HVAC's already figured out, is that, they have a paid apprenticeship programs that last X amount of years. Now, electricity has like journeymen and masters and that sort of thing. Like, they have it very structured. You have to have this much time in, you have to pass these benchmarks, and then you can get more responsibility, which equals more pay and that sort of thing. And fencing, it's wide open. Like, it's just like, I don't know, if you do good, we'll probably promote you and then we'll pay you a little bit more. Yeah. It's nothing really structured as the apprenticeship programs you see in these other trades, which is probably something we need to look into.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right. Gonzalo says, thanks for all the info and your videos. Very welcome. Like it says, 15 years of youth sports changed my life and thousands of kids as well. So that's the fun part. And that's what I'm looking forward to with Jackson is I saw this with Macy. So when I was helping with softball, just like these kids, like you get to watch them grow up and turn into young adults, and they're thankful for it. It's pretty cool knowing that you can have a part in that. We were at a grocery store, and one of these kids in Jackson's team came up. He's like, hey coach, how are you? And it's like, oh, okay. These kids are already starting to like pick up on that. And anyway, it's neat. It is.
Is your team color orange?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We sponsor the jerseys.
I have 2 sponsored teams as well, and
I love it.
It's pretty fun.
Yeah. We are the Republic Raptors because this is a boys team and they're in the dinosaur stage. So yeah, we are the Republic Raptors.
That's cool, man.
Well, Caleb, thank you so much as always. I appreciate you coming on. I really do, being so giving of your time. Guys, keep an eye out in the coming weeks for the unboxing of the staining machine, as well as the first version, using the first version of it. We'll probably... So we've got the bulkhead and everything. We probably shoot a video this week of how we're going to go about trying to modify it and go from there. So stay tuned for that in the upcoming weeks. But Caleb, thank you so much, not only for your time, but also for the Expert Brand sponsoring the live broadcast. I really appreciate you for making this possible.
Yeah, man, we are thankful and grateful and excited. And I have to make you have a pretty big UK audience, don't you?
Yeah. It depends on the day, but typically, yeah. So
I have to make a shameless plug. The guys over at Wood Care UK, you can go to woodcareuk.co.uk. They've done a lot of work, and they really asked if I could say hello to them on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're carrying our stains and some really good wood care products over in the UK. Pure Seal Services, Manchester Deck Company, and Wood Care UK.
Wood Care UK.
If you're in the UK, they are so excited to finally have a good oil-based product over there. So
I think
maybe
we said hello to him, but let's scroll back up here because Stevie's here. Or at least, well, so we know we got at least one guy over in the area, at least across the pond.
there you go.
So.
Yeah, perfect. So they've done an incredible amount of work. So excited for those guys and excited to be on the show. Excited to see everything growing, and just can't wait to see where this all goes.
I appreciate you coming on. So next month, what we ought to talk about is maybe the new and improved version of the citronella.
Oh yeah,
I think that's something I love using it in our yard just for just keeping the mosquitoes down. Like if we're having kids over, I'll go spray it in the yard. That way, we're not worried about bug bites and that sort of thing. That would be. I'd like to talk about the new and improved version. Absolutely,
let's do it. Let's do it, man.
All right, guys, you heard it here. Next month, we'll be talking. At the end of next month, we'll be talking about. Well, we'll have to figure out the timing because the last Saturday it's going to be Memorial Day weekend, right? Is it? Nope, that'd be the first. I don't know. We'll sort it all out. Yeah, the last Saturday will be Memorial Day weekend. So
it's already May, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe the Saturday before that, we'll talk about citronella, the new and improved citronella.
There you go. All right, man. Y'all have a
guys,
great week.
I appreciate you guys viewing. As always, Joe Evers, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. We'll see you next week.
See you.
I got to press end.